Picked up a ball in the heat of the day. Dusty's notebook showed me the way. Dribbles and scribbles, the game's on blast. Breaking ankles, leave them in the past. Basketball life, it's a freestyle vibe. Simplified moves, watch them come alive.
Thank you, everyone, for joining in. This is Kevin Howell, the One Eye Scout, along with my Dusty Clements. And we're going to be talking about basketball, simplifying it. Dusty's going to bring out some of her trusty notebook information, as she's already had this process with her older son, who was a Division I athlete at the University of Kansas. And, we crossed paths, Dusty, at the Gasso Next Gen when I first saw Wyatt this time last year. And, we've kept in contact and finally got you guys come over to the doghouse at 6712 Joe Louis Drive. And, y'all seem to enjoy it. But go ahead and kind of talk about how the season winded down for Wyatt and how you're preparing for the summer and these workouts that are going on right now.
Well, Wyatt had a really, really good year for himself. And as being out here in the Smithson Valley area, he did really well as an individual. And coming down the road, we did not make it to the playoffs. And it was hard on him, hard on the team. And I just told Wyatt, you need to stay focused, keep your head held up high, and work on getting ready for that summertime basketball. This is where it's your time to shine as an individual along with your team again, but on a big stage. And that's what we've been focusing on. So Wyatt went out to the doghouse, and he's been out there and he's been training hard. And it's a unique place. It's something that at first it's going to be tough. But if this is not what you want to do, you're going to have to just get on out of that doghouse, because right now you got to be a dog to get in and stay in. So as the season went by and ended, we just said, here we go, and we're not going to stop. But let me tell you, Kevin, this young man continued throughout the year. I'm not, I just told him we got to put an emphasis on going forward and moving forward and getting bigger, better, stronger. And all year long, he went through it. And now in the summertime, he has more time to do it. And I've always, told him, summer it's going to be a big time. This is where you're going to get you got to, get your training done. You got to get really good. Your physical, conditioning, you've got to get big and strong, and mentally you got to be prepared. And I can tell you that JC is definitely stepped in to help get that process going again.
But I think that you talked about something right off the bat when you talked about conditioning and being prepared, and that Wyatt had continued to prepare conditioning wise. I think you mentioned that he's up to 4 miles a couple of times a week. What has that foundation helped look like separator for whenever he goes to different workouts?
Well, I can tell you that Wyatt is one of the top performers in the gym. When I've seen him, you've seen him, he's the first one down to the line and back. And this is basically being conditioned throughout the year. At school, right after school, going to training. And he has had the ability to kind of keep running. So when that third quarter comes in and that fourth quarter comes in, he's not, he's not, his legs aren't gone. He's
Hmm.
staying up to everyone else. Now, this is being a sophomore playing with, against the seniors on varsity. And so he's done a great job doing that. And I guess he's doing 2 to 4 miles right now, every other day. And when he's asked to get into that gym and start getting on the line, he's first one down and first one back.
I think
And
that
mhm,
I was going to add to that. I think that, one of the things that you and I talked about was giving families an opportunity or ideas to do things that are free, and uh, getting out there at these local high schools to log those miles are free. And it's a shame. And you've seen it, we talked
mhm.
about it a little bit yesterday when people show up to a workout and they're out of shape. So they're paying somebody to help them get in shape before they ever start working on their skills and development. And that's frustrating as a person, as an onlooker. You know, but what are some of those other things that you and Wyatt do? Um, the
Well,
free stuff.
I want to, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Kevin, because I saw some kids out there that weren't prepared. They were lagging behind, pulling the group, kind of back, and not necessarily pulling them back, but we're waiting on them because
Hmm.
they're not conditioned, And I tell Wyatt, look, your physical condition is, you got to do strength training. You've got to do all the things, Wyatt, that's free. I shouldn't have to take you to incorporate where you could do squats, you can do lunges, push ups, pull ups. You got to be able to build your overall strength to have that power on the court. And I tell Wyatt, you can get out there and go run up and down 2 to 4 miles on the courts that are available. There's tracks, there's parks. You can get out there and run. And it's free, Wyatt. I'm not having to pay to have someone to teach you how to run.
Yeah.
And and this comes down to overall, when they're and it will reflect back on his practice, Kevin, and it will help improve him with his quickness and his ability to change directions with the ball.
Hmm.
He's going to be faster, and he's going to be, like I said, to be able to stay in that third and fourth quarter, able to run and able to play without weak legs.
And it was interesting because as parents and there was spectators were sitting there watching, and then there was a couple of basketball players that are also track athletes, and there's Wyatt who does his mileage, and there wasn't a whole lot difference between the track athletes and his mileage, but there was a big separator to people that just only worked out in the gym. Like they are continuous workers in the gym, but even there was still a separation because of that track work. And we were laughing earlier about Larry Bird and Reggie Miller and John Starks, and some of these kids don't even remember those names, but just how many miles those guys put into a game,
Right.
the actual game, and the mileage work that had to be put in prior to that. Um,
That's right.
I think that the next thing, we talk about the conditioning, and I know that you preach conditioning is a foundation, but I think the next step with that is that mental preparation before you ever step in um, to a John Collins workout. You know, uh,
Yeah, and you're right. And stepping into JC's at the doghouse you're right. It's going to be tough. and you got to be mentally prepared in order to step into that doghouse.
Hmm.
So, and the first day Wyatt showed up, we were talking and going down the road. It's a 1 hour one way for me for Wyatt and I and on the way back. But if this is what you want, it doesn't matter how far it is. And this is what he wants. So this is where we're driving. And I told Wyatt, when he stepped in, you've got to have some goals. You got to set out and think about what you want to do. And I talked about, what do you want to achieve this summer? You've got to be mentally prepared. So you've got to ask yourself, what do you want to achieve this summer for your basketball season?
Hmm.
And you need to visualize, and like I was telling you, you got to visualize your success. Just imagine yourself after you put in all this hard work, how you're going to perform in the games around your coaches, scouts. This is you got to be mentally prepared. And I tell Wyatt, stay focused. Concentrate what and the things that you do in practice and how you're going to translate them over to your games.
Yeah,
Be
I think
prepared.
I think yesterday there was a couple of athletes, student athletes, that coming back from the road from the run were kind of dragging, and we kind of just had a conversation outside between me and the young man that you got your ass kicked. What are you going to do? Because you already know what the workout is, and you haven't made it to the workout yet. And so I think there's another step to what goes on inside that gym, because the first it took me almost a year to figure out that JC's working to take their legs before they ever start a workout.
That's right.
So it's all muscle memory after that. And so some of these young athletes have to dig down and get some intestinal fortitude. And Caleb Gaston, young man out at Howard College, he played at MacArthur High School. Um, Used to talk about, or he's been on the podcast before, and talked about how JC's guys were just a little bit different. JC's kids were just a little bit different. Um, and it's not hot yet, but it's coming.
That's
And
right.
we don't do air conditioning, and we have plenty of water, and you know, but that's all part of how to regain your composure so that you can come back and push. You know, Yesterday we were afforded the opportunity with I call him Coach P, Coach Ivory, stop by the gym, and he's a firecracker. He doesn't know how to sit still very well, and but he wants the best. He wants the best. He wants the best. And man, he turned the temperature up in that gym, and it was interesting to see some of the dynamics. We talked about, were kids in shape? Well, we knew three-fourths of them aren't in shape. They've let themselves go a little bit since the season. That's number one. We know that some of them weren't mentally prepared to play defense. And we had a situation where um, there was a substitution, and when that player was substituted out, he never got back into the workout in that 4-on-4, 5-on-4 situation. And that's what really happens when you guys go to college. Um, if you don't pick it up, they're not going to hold your hand as a freshman. They're just not. And you got to be with it. You got to be in it. You got to be be listening and asking questions.
That's right. And you're correct. Coach P brings the fire, and he is a firecracker. And you know what? Exactly who he substituted out. I would have actually done the same myself. Poor body language is not going to help you, the coaches, your teammates around you. Get rid of it. If this is your sport and this is what you want to do going forward, get rid of the poor body language. Focus, get mentally prepared, concentrate on your practice so it can transition over to your games.
Yeah, and that's going to be a quintessential skill, you know. Um, and then, so with your conditioning and with your mental preparation coming in, knowing what you're going to have to go through, and then the skill development occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, that's just one day, and we laughed. Why it's going on day 3 or 4 or day 4 now. Um, so let's go ahead and let's just kind of talk about, you were going to 3 different trainers, and we don't have to name names, but you're going to 3 different trainers to get different things that you um, have marked or have significance in your preparation for Wyatt. And how's that going?
Well, we had to make a change. Like you said, Kevin, we're going 3 different directions in the city of San Antonio and the surrounding areas. We had to go north, south, east, west, 1 hour, regardless of where you go. And I didn't have, once training was done from one individual, it took us another hour to get to the next one. So finally, I had to, you know, I guess I had to put it down and make a decision, and I had to get into a well-rounded facility and place where it can actually work for us and work out. It has to work out, and for timing wise, especially when you're driving an hour one way, right?
Yeah.
And after practice, whether it's me or Wyatt, driving, we have to have the time to get over there. And yes, 3 different sessions with 3 different individuals, and whether it was training, whether it was under the basket, whether it was shooting, whether it was footwork. I'm gonna say, if you want it all put in the same pie, and you can get everything in one,
Mhm.
Wyatt went and took a look, and when he walked into JC over at the doghouse, it was different. It's different, and having to do all those things in one place was very rewarding for him. So he didn't have so much so much changing throughout the week and time and place, and just going up against some really, really good kids, and having those skills that JC showing him, wanted to, he saw all the bits and pieces that JC was putting together, and he was like, "Oh man, I'm shooting here. I'm doing one-on-one. I'm getting all my agility. I'm running. I'm pulling. I'm doing the tires. I'm pulling weights. I'm rebounding, offensive, defensively. He's doing 3-on-3, 4-on-4. He did trying to go left, trying to go right. There's a lot of things going on in one place."
Mhm.
And things change throughout the time he's there, and they'll change throughout the days. And to him, when he left, it was very rewarding for him,
Mhm.
and that was up to him. Can you hold on to this? Can you do it? Can you compete like this? That's up to you. I'm not going to bring you back. That's up to you.
Mhm.
Next day went by, and he's like, "Okay, let me skip this. Take me back out to JC's at the doghouse. No problem." I thought the next day was worse for him. It was more, it was just, he was doing he had the big, heavy 10, 15, 20 pound balls over his head, jumping up and down that court, trying to
Mhm.
get his vertical up. He he was doing things that he hasn't had the ability to do all in one place.
Hmm.
And after the second day, I was surprised he wanted to go back for the third day.
Hmm.
I was more exhausted watching him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
There was, and it, so we had to cut out a lot of other trainers, and we have to focus on what we're receiving right now, because I can tell you it's a hard place to be, but it's going to be very rewarding, and I believe he's starting to reap those benefits right now.
Oh yeah. I'm excited to see the summer because you know you and him have private conversations, mother son conversations, but you can see the confidence bringing uh, after each workout. Um, what was your thoughts when JC has one of the it ain't for everybody. If you're lazy, don't show up. Stops the workout, laces people up for being lazy. Like, what was your first thoughts the first time that occurred?
The first thoughts coming from me is that I appreciated it. Not many parents will have the same response as me, but I will tell you I appreciate it, because I don't want my son being around a place where there's other people bringing him out. JC says, if you can't keep up, if you can't do the work, get on out of here. You
Mhm.
come back when you can show me what you can do.
Yeah,
And if you don't like it, oh well. This is the doghouse. We will perform, we will have results, but if you can't do it, get on out. And I appreciate it.
yeah. Well, if you got any advice for someone coming out the first time, and then we'll kind of sign off and wrap it up. Um, for someone coming out for the first time, what would you suggest?
Wow, be prepared. Mentally prepare yourself, because, as I say, if you're not mentally prepared, it's going to be very hard to walk into the doghouse and not be told to get on out of here because you're not in shape. But at the end of the day, stay positive, and when you're faced with challenges, just make it work.
Yeah, and I just want to tell everyone thanks for joining in. This is the first episode of our Basketball Simplified with my friend Dusty, and we will do weekly shows with different topics. And if you have requests, you can submit them via social media at the One Eye Scout, Twitter, Instagram, and have a great evening. And we'll see you again soon. And you're watching Tan TV.